All right, there we go. Now we're live. People are all asking. They're saying, come on, we're trying to get it all set up. A little bit of technical difficulty. People getting upset here. Impatient.
They're going to blame me. Don't worry.
No. They will blame me. It was my technical difficulty. All right, what's up, guys? Hope you guys ready to hang out and have some fun tonight with the old Philly 500. I will say we did have it planned to have all the guys on here. It was be Philly Mike and Lord Brunson. And just at the last minute, they both had some family stuff pop up. So we are rescheduling. It will happen. But it's a bummer because I was pitching it as all four of us, and it's just two of us. So what are you going to do? Still, should be a lot of fun. What are you doing today, Philly?
Yeah,
you having fun today?
Be a lot of fun.
Good Thursday?
Well, I can't say fun. A lot of work. It's been a busy week. When you get a few days off during a vacation, it always comes back and haunts you the next week. So yeah. I've been kind of dealing with that this week,
I'm not
going to lie to you. I'm trying to get ready for the game.
Yeah, no, it is. On one side of things, obviously I wanted to clinch against the Dallas Cowboys, and then I wanted to clinch last week against the Saints. But at least it makes it for a more interesting week, and not just from a creator standpoint, I think from a fan standpoint. Like, this could have been a nothing burger of a week where you had nothing to look forward to, and you were going to turn the Eagles on, but really not care much about Gardner Minshew as a backup with everybody else. At least they're going to play the starters and have a little bit of fun on Sunday, right? Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great way to look at it, I guess. At least we're going to get something out of it. I'm just going to be nervous as hell going into it. I mean, we're in a situation here. Think about this. You ever remember a time where a team was 3 games up with 3 games left to go and then blew it? I can't think of that. So to me, it's like a lot of pressure on. Fortunately, I don't think the Giants are going to play their starters the whole game. It doesn't sound like it.
It does seem like Daniel Jones and Saquon might not play at all. They haven't officially announced that yet. I was reading something today that they might not even, but like you said, they might play a little bit here. It is weird because we almost took for granted the fact that 3 weeks ago, in the Cowboy game, which was Christmas Eve, we had a number 1 seed in clinching scenario, which was 3 weeks before the end of the year. That never happens in the National Football League. Never. And yet we've blown 2 in a row because Jalen Hurts.
We were one play away from it. You could throw a touchdown at the end of that game and steal the game. We didn't even worry about the New Orleans Saints, So I mean, it's frustrating. But I keep hearing the Giants. Now you're hearing we're going to do what's best for our team. That's a clue. They ain't playing their starters. Maybe a quarter or something, and then if you look at the spread in Vegas, they got the Eagles 14-point favorites. There's no way the Eagles are 14-point favorites if they don't think the Giants aren't playing their starters.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually think that the Giants should rest their starters. If I was a Giant fan, I would 100% be making sure my starters would rest. I don't like this whole idea of like, oh, well, we don't need to actually play these people, or we need to make sure that we're, what do you call it? Oh, I have the wrong microphone. Is it not working? How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit louder.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure that we're having some mic difficulties. Let me know in the chat if the mic's working now. I think I have it set to the right one. That should be the right one here. Okay,
that sounds
better,
closer.
Much better. Okay, there we go. All right, as I was saying, there's this whole idea. I was watching ESPN yesterday, and they were talking about, I hate the bye week because it gets you cold and you lose all, the rust comes on. I think the bye week is magical. I would much rather have a bye week. And even if you're the Giants, create your own bye week instead of this whole idea of we got to stay fresh. If you can take 1 week off, or if you can't take 1 week off and still stay fresh and not show rust and still play at a high level, then you're probably not a Super Bowl caliber team either way. And this goes not just for the Giant people, but for us at the same time saying, oh man, Thomas, I'm really scared about the bye week. If we lose because of the bye week, then we weren't going to win the Super Bowl anyway. So I have no problem with the Giants resting people. And honestly, I think Philadelphia is desperately in need of winning this game to be able to have that 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, Giants could do whatever they want. If they don't rest their guys, we'll still beat them. But I'm with you. If I get a chance to rest my guys going to playoffs, I do it. And having the bye week is so important because that means you only have to win 2 home games and you're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I don't know that this team can get there. I guess they could get there, but it's a lot harder when you have to play 3 road games. And we're talking about guys like Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson won't be ready round 1 of the playoffs. Yeah. You need him for that. You need that bye week for him, let alone anybody else.
Are you at this Eagle fan feeling that's kind of a glass half empty sort of situation right now? I know there's a lot of comments on my show. I'm sure you've gotten these too, where people, 2 straight losses, all the injuries, it's doom and gloom for a lot of Eagle fans right now. And I get that to a degree. I think that the Cowboy loss was a lot better than people realized. I mean, you don't turn the football over, and like you said, you're one possession away or one throw away from winning that game. The Saints loss was ugly, but this whole idea that Philadelphia's had all these catastrophic injuries, not named Jalen Hurts, because he does come back this weekend, and the Eagles are now doomed. I just don't buy it. I think they can win without Avonte Maddox. I think they can win without Lane Johnson. Jack Driscoll's not, a first ballot Hall of Famer like Lane is, but he's not scum of the earth. He's not terrible. I think the injuries are obviously not great, but I feel very confident that Philadelphia could go on a run, eat without all of them except for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I tend in life just to be generally a half full kind of guy. So I always try to see the positive. And if you look at the Dallas game, Minshew, he played all right, I guess. They had a couple turnovers that I thought were just their fault, The Boston Scott fumble, they're up 7 still, and he fumbles. He let Dallas back into the game with that fumble. I just think if they clean those things up, they would have beat Dallas. As far as the Saints game, I mean, that just was completely the Eagles not coming in with the right game plan, not ready to go. That team looked like they were out partying on New Year's Eve. That's what they look like to me. So I'm a half full guy. I think that this team, as long as they win and they get that bye week, everything will be back on track. That's how I see it.
I totally agree. I think it's amazing that there are a lot of people, even Eagle fans themselves, who are counting them out just because they had a couple of bad games in which they didn't have their star quarterback. And the good news is, and we're going to get to this, is that Jalen Hurts, he practiced today. It was limited, but he obviously did practice today. There was never any doubt in my mind after the Saints game, watching him on the sideline with his little headset on, with just like a straight face glare. It was like, okay, he's obviously playing in this one. And so with him being back, I really hope you could treat this like a preseason game where he, plays a half, you're up by 3 scores, you go ahead and yank him. That way he gets in there, he takes a hit, he proves to all of us that the shoulder is not super fragile. But if he's got to play the whole thing, then whatever, you play the whole thing. I think the shoulder injury has been overblown a little bit. Not saying that it's not a serious thing, because it is. I mean, it's obviously a serious overall injury. But I think the fact he was throwing at practice 2 weeks ago, at the link in that infamous or that famous video now, shows you if this was meaningful, he would have played. I think Philadelphia bet on the fact they were going to beat the Saints. They didn't, and they just were like, oh yeah, obviously we'll beat them. And suddenly it was like, wait a second, this is like the number 2 overall defense in terms of the pass. Like, we're not going to beat these guys, and that's where they kind of wet the bed there. But overall, I think 100% Hurts comes back here. You let him ride. I wouldn't change the play calling up that much. I mean, sure, a couple of design quarterback runs, you can take them out of there. But a lot of his runs are not design quarterback runs. I mean, the idea that it's like 20 design quarterback runs a game is ridiculous. It's probably 5 with a couple of read options in there where his first read is not to run.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. I would love nothing more to see them come out and be full throttle, go down, score a touchdown. Like I don't think the Giants are coming in this game with a whole bunch of heart to want to play. They don't want to go to war. So you got to come in, be physical, get up on you come out, and by third quarter, it's just a preseason, a very boring game. That's exactly what we want. I definitely think so. Jalen Hurts, he could have played last week. We all know he could have played. They even so much as said it. And even if the Eagles would have beat New Orleans, Thomas, even if they beat them, they were going to play him a little bit this game, because otherwise he wouldn't play for 5 weeks. So he was going to play, and the plan all along was for him to come back this week. I feel pretty comfortable with him. I'm not really worried about the shoulder, and I think he's going to be good to go, man. I just hope that they come out and they take care of business early, get up on this team early, because once you do that, they're going to be checked out,
Yeah, I totally agree. Quick shout out here to Prospect GB. Love watching you all too at Philly. Mike, keep up the great work, energy. What up, Denzel? Go Birds. And for those of you guys just joining us, it was going to be Philly Mike and Lord Brunson. Was the last second they had some family stuff. It's late at night on a Thursday. I don't blame them at all. It happens. But next time, we're going to get all 4 of us together on one show again, like we did on my show months ago. So don't worry about that. It will happen, but I do appreciate the super chat there. I want to ask this question. This is something that I read on Twitter kind of right before we actually came on the air. I don't know if you saw this. I'm going to throw it up on the screen.
I haven't. I don't think.
Okay. So this is from Adam Schefter. So this is really bizarre. Adam Schefter believes the NFL will not look to resume the Bills-Bengals game, and the league is working towards either a potential neutral site AFC Championship game or one seed choosing between having a bye or home field with 2 seed getting whatever not picked. And this at first told me it was just going to be AFC wide, but then I was reading an article. This could be NFC as well, to where everybody would play in the wild card weekend and there would not be a bye week. I have no idea the validity of that. It's something that Adam Schefter said very recently on, I think it was NFL Live this afternoon. That to me is very bizarre. Now I get the whole DeMar Hamlin situation. We could talk about that a little bit later. I think everyone feels the same way about that. The good news today is fantastic, but I'm fascinated to see how they're going to play this one out from a purely football perspective, because taking away what is so important to the 1 seed, even in a very interesting situation, is going to be crazy, because the 1 seed's got to stand for something. Like, you at least should be able to have the bye, right? I don't see how you would move everything up just to, I guess, help out the Bills and Bengals when Philadelphia is on the NFC side. It's something to keep an eye on here, at least over the next couple of days, because Schefter hinted at it, and the NFL has got to do something.
But why would the NFL do anything with the NFC? It has nothing to do with the NFC conference at all. I mean, are they going to get rid of that week before the Super Bowl? Is that what they're going to do? I think it sucks, and I can't help but wonder if the fact that the Eagles didn't clinch home field last week has opened the door to this. Because how are you going to go tell the Eagles you're not getting the bye week that you just earned? And the fact that it's still open, it makes you wonder. I think that's a horrible idea. I really think it's a horrible idea.
Yeah, I think Joey just chimed in here in the chat. I believe that is Joey, right? There he is. He said these rumors are adding on an 8 seed. The NFC should stay put. Really? Hang on. Let me go to my NFC
rumors
playoff
on adding on 8 seed. And the NFC should stay put.
Really?
So then you're going to add an 8th seed in the AFC.
Oh, is he saying just the AFC or not the NFC? Because that would mean that the 1 plays the 8, and they would play in the wild card round. So we'd all play in the wild card round. It's like an extra.
I don't. But why does the NFC have to do that? It has nothing to do with the NFC. I think the best thing that they should do is just make it a no contest or a tie and move on from there. I don't know why they can't
do
do
the
that
tie as well. I think it's just easier. The big fear is that if they make it a tie or a known contest, then Kansas City has to do is win on Saturday against the Raiders, and then they are the 1 seed. So Kansas City benefits when neither of those teams do. And I think the idea of making the NFC have to do it is that way it's fair for both sides, because then you could get to the Super Bowl and Philadelphia has a bye and the Chiefs don't, and it's like, okay, this is a little bit ridiculous. I don't envy being in the league offices. This is tough to do, but I think you just laid it out, right? Just call it a tie. I think both teams would gladly accept that, because you can't complain about it, right? Even if you didn't want to tie, you couldn't say, oh, that's dumb because of the situation. And then you don't have a scenario where you're playing the 8th seed. If that were to be the case, if Joey's right, and I did see that tweet as well, and I appreciate Joey chiming in here, you're looking at playing one of these 3 teams, and most likely it would be, I think, Seattle and Green Bay, because the Lions are out if Seattle beats the Rams earlier. But then again, I don't know what the scenario is for an 8th seed, because this is just assuming there's only 7 seeds. Man, it gets crazy. Right. Really crazy.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of, I almost rather them just push back these games 1 week, let them play the game on Sunday or something, and wait a week. I would rather do that before. I don't want to give up that bye week. You're talking about no Lane Johnson or having Lane Johnson.
Just dismiss the game, go on regular schedule. Why should it affect us? Shout out to Tom and Philly. Great show. Yeah, I totally agree there. And I appreciate that, Joey. I think you just, business as usual, coin flip. And like I just said, there's no one from the Bills organization or from the Bengals organization who's even going to complain about that sort of thing. The entire NFL is very united on the Damar Hamlin thing, as they obviously should. And so for the idea that for, oh, well, you're going to call it a tie, that's not fair to us as, Bengals player X, it would never happen. So the NFL, even if it would make a couple of people mad, and probably rightfully so, because you want to get the 1 seed, they aren't going to complain about it, and so move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. And if Kansas City wins this week, it doesn't matter, right? Because they will clinch home field with the win. So I don't know. I hope that that's not what they're. I mean, I know that they're probably throwing a lot of things out there, but to take the bye week from, especially the NFC, is horrible. And then I'll tell you what, at that point, I don't care that we lost the last 2 if we take that bye week away. That bye week's important.
It is going to go very quick. The tweets that I kept getting tagged in terms of, I saw first things first tweet. I saw another person. Oh, who was it? Another big national media guy, and they've just abandoned ship on Philadelphia. It's like Philadelphia done. This entire month has felt exactly like 2017. Right, Carson Wentz goes down. Now, that was obviously season ending versus Jalen Hurts, but the entire national media, at least a lot of them, jump ship. They immediately forget the fact that the roster is absolutely stacked, and they go, okay, he's hurt. Here comes the backup. He's not going to do well enough. Get them out of here. I'm going to pick somebody else. It feels very similar. And also, you can go back game by game. Didn't Nick Foles, he comes in relief of Carson in the fourth quarter, wins the game. Then he balls out against the Giants. He threw like 3 touchdowns. Then he struggled against the Raiders, but we won. Very similar to what Gardner did, where he played pretty well, minus the picks against Dallas, and then plays terribly against the Saints. And yet we still have a chance to clinch, get the 1 seed, and you still rely on this really, really good roster. I want to mention Hassan Reddick quickly, because I think Reddick has been one of the most disrespected players in the entire league this year. And it's not just because, no one's talking about him. He seemingly is feeling this way too. If you follow him on Twitter, he retweets stuff about people, saying, oh, no one talks about Hassan Reddick all the time. The fact the guy has 16 sacks and you don't hear him mentioned on any of the national shows is one of the most bizarre things in the entire world. It's Nick Bosa, and that's it. And I guess Micah Parsons. But when you look at it, I mean, Reddick is having an absolutely lights out year on a defense that is 5 sacks away from breaking the record for team sacks, and they don't talk about him. I just think it's crazy. I think it's like a PSA. We must mention Hassan Reddick's name.
Right. Yeah, Hassan Reddick, he gets overlooked a lot. It's really crazy. 16 sacks, that's a hell of a year. He's got, I think 5 forced fumbles.
Yep.
And I can't tell you, I think they drop him in the coverage too much. I think he could have another 3 or 4 sacks if they would actually rush him more. But it's really unbelievable. He's a hell of a player. I mean, you're talking about a guy that had this is his third year with double-digit sacks, all on a different team. He did one with Arizona, with Carolina, and then with Philly. Reddick's a stud, man.
This I see a comment here saying, where is I just lost it. Goodness. Oh, you think Bosa had 22 sacks? He only had 1. He only has 1.5 more than Reddick. Yeah, look it up. 17.5 for Bosa. Then it's 16 for Reddick. Then Matthew Judon, who also never gets talked about. They never mention Matthew Judon's name. And then it's Garrett, and then it's Micah Parsons sitting there with 13, which is crazy.
And then you get the moron Cowboy fans that every comment I get is, well, Micah Parsons is the defensive player of the year. How is that possible?
Not this year.
Come on.
And what was weird too in the Cowboy game, not to keep going back to something from like a month ago, when Lane Johnson went out, everybody, including I think the Sunday night crew, was like, "Oh, here comes Micah Parsons." They didn't line him up once on Driscoll's side. It was like, we're gonna go up Mailata, and he barely got there. There was that one play where it seemed like he got in the backfield because Gardner held it on too long. It was like he's fine, but he's not having a year like Hassan Reddick. Let's say Reddick were to go ahead and tie Bosa. And let's say he gets a sack and a half and Bosa gets none in this final game. I mean, there's a real argument for defensive player of the year.
Yeah, they'll never give it to him. They've already made their minds up, I think, like a month ago, because I think the minds have already been made up. I'll bet you Bosa finishes with defensive player of the year, and then you'll probably have Micah Parsons like second in voting. Reddick will get robbed and disrespected.
Do you see?
I expect it.
Speaking of awards, and shout out to Jose here for the super chat. My boys, Mahomes Todd. Oh, okay, there you go. I see what they did there. My bad. I was trying to read that. You're talking about they already have the MVP or the awards written. Do you think that Hurts wins MVP? Like deep down in your heart, you
No.
think he wins MVP? I don't either.
No, I think he
I don't either.
deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
Because listen, they're going to look at Mahomes and his numbers, and that's what they're going to give it to him. But if you really look at the last 2 games, especially last week, I think Hurts proved to everybody that was saying, "Oh, it's just the system. Anybody could come in and do what he's done." I mean, if the last 2 weeks, in my opinion, have proved how valuable he really is.
Yeah, almost shout out to Gardner Minshew if he does win it, because for how bad Minshew absolutely looked, it was really, really crazy.
Oh, God.
CJ Gardner-Johnson is an absolute walker this week, and I see a question here from Chris Scott. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Nick Sirianni's playing his status very close to the vest. For as much as they basically are hinting that Hurts is going to play, and everyone knows that Hurts is going to play without them saying it, I have no clue if CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to play this week. I saw no update on him practicing today, which we should have gotten one because people said they saw Jalen Hurts out there. I saw nothing about CJ Gardner-Johnson. I'm expecting him not to play on Sunday.
See, I think he plays.
You do?
I think he plays. I think these coaches got to be feeling the heat. They got to be feeling the heat. I'm looking up at the injury report. I'm trying to see if he's even. They don't even have to list him right now, do they?
Right.
Because he's on the 21 day. So, yeah, I think he's going to play, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm seeing if I have anything sent to me on that. People send me tweets all the time.
I know.
So.
Me too. He's just the one that they haven't specifically been like, oh, yeah, really good chance to play. I think Sirianni yesterday just said, oh, he's, making good progress, wink, whatever that means. So,
I mean, the Eagles may be catching a huge break in the fact that the Giants may sit their starters. People get mad at me because I bring it up. And I'm not bringing it up out of like hope or what. I don't really care if they do or not. But it's just interesting to me that we're in a situation. A few weeks ago, I never thought the Eagles wouldn't have been the team locked in to their position, and it would be the Giants.
Yeah.
But it may be a huge break for us. It really might.
I totally agree. City family, my man. I appreciate you in Australia. This is one of my I don't know what time it is in Australia, but it's not 8 p.m. like it is here in Atlanta. I'll tell you that. Dillard to left, move Mailata, I think. I think they want to keep Mailata at left tackle. I think the difference between right and left is a lot bigger than people realize, and they don't want to. They don't want to.
Well, the thing is they say it's like you have to do everything backwards.
Oh.
So if when you go from like left to right or whatever, it's like doing everything backwards, and that could totally screw a guy up. It could take time to adjust. What if he struggles being moved, and now you have a problem on both ends? So I think you have to keep him. I think if the Eagles run the ball a little more, I think it'll be fine.
Joey just said Gannon said today he made the mistake of putting Reddick in coverage. He would have had 24 sacks had Kaiser White decreased. Has the Kaiser White decreased in production? I cannot wait for Dean. I actually thought about this, and this is a great point by Joey. I think they're playing Kaiser White not because he's way better than Dean, but just out of the respect of the fact that he's more of a veteran, and they're just going to let Dean come along slowly. I think if we were just doing a blind review of these two players, you didn't know the name on the back of the jersey, I think Dean would beat him out straight up at linebacker. I just think Philadelphia, the difference is so short that they're just going to roll with the more savvy veteran in White, just in case Dean didn't make some sort of idiotic, boneheaded play in the playoffs and cost him a game or something like that. Because I think Dean, when he's been in there, I think the Tennessee Titan game, he's very much shown that he belongs.
Yeah, I agree. I think he definitely belongs, and I think he takes over for White. Whether he's ready to go right now over White, I don't know, but I do think White seems like he's kind of fallen as the year has gone. Sign it. He was pretty good early in the year, kind of faded out a little bit.
I totally agree. I'm seeing huge shout outs, much love from London. Geez, what time is it in London? They're 6 hours ahead of me. Oh, my goodness gracious. You got to go to bed.
It's tea time.
It's something time. It's bedtime.
Want some tea time?
Oh, man. Yeah, people keep talking about what's happening with the playoff situation. Again, if you're just joining us, the idea that they could add in an 8th seed, which has been apparently talked about, who knows the validity, add in an 8th seed, make the 1 seed play the 8th seed in the wild card round and get rid of the bye is a possibility. But
see, then you're punishing Kansas City and Philadelphia or whoever the 1 seed in the NFC is for what happened. They don't want to punish Buffalo and Cincinnati I get it. I just think that the only way to make the whole thing work is just make that game a tie, and and let it be, that way. And I'm sorry that hurts your bye week. I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
Well, and the crazy thing about it too is there was always going to be one team of these three juggernauts at the top of the AFC who was going to have to play the other sooner, right? Because one of these teams is just going to face one of the other in like an AFC championship game.
Right.
But one of them is going to have to, the Bengals have to beat the Bills and then the Chiefs. They have to go through two of them. And so someone was always going to get screwed. It's not like we can fix that. There are three juggernauts in the AFC, and there happens to be one, maybe two in the NFC. We can talk about maybe the Vikings, whatever.
Hey, listen, I would rather them take a playoff team away and give the first and second seed a bye week before I would rather them add the bye week.
I'm fine with that too. Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I actually think I liked it growing up when the 2 seeds still got a bye, because you are rewarded, but then you still have to go play the 1 seed on the road if that were to be the case. I'd be totally fine with that too. Yep. But people would go nuts because the whole idea of Rodgers not having a Sunday night chance to get into the playoffs as a 7 seed would just be my goodness.
Well.
It is crazy though in the AFC, and we'll move off into talk more Eagle stuff here. You're looking at an 8-8 Patriot team kind of being your 7 seed. Like, they're going to get absolutely clobbered by whoever the 2 seed is. It's not even going to be close. Whereas Rodgers, as a 2 seed, you almost hope that he's going to be the one. That way you go to the 49ers, go to the Vikings, and really kind of stirs the pot.
He's playing, they're heating up a little bit, so it could happen.
Would you guys rather... Okay, guys, would you rather add D-Hop to our offense or let CJ Gardner-Johnson, Bradbury, White, Graham, Cox, and all walk? Look, that's a very, very weird would you rather. I see. Paying for D-Hop, and then it means you have to lose all those other people.
No,
they don't need DeAndre
Hopkins. I don't need DeAndre. I have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, who, by the way, is an absolute stud.
Who also
love Devontae Smith.
Barely gets mentioned when you talk about great receivers right now at all. And you can make the argument he's having almost as good of a year of AJ Brown, if not a little bit better.
He leads the team in receptions, right? Yeah. He leads, and he's tied with the franchise record for wide receivers receptions with 88 with Irvin Fryer. So, I mean, he's had a really good year. And I think they started using him a little different. Like, I think everything was short early on with him. But if you look at some of the routes that he started running late in the season, they were a little bit longer, a little more downfield. And you saw his yardage just shoot up. Yeah. Because at one point he didn't have a lot of yardage, but he had receptions. All of a sudden, it shot up. So I think Devontae Smith is an absolute stud. I just do.
It does feel like a little bit overdue in terms of getting him touches. I mean, a couple of those games where he was completely quiet, you just sit there and you go, yeah, that's not right. There's got to be a design flaw here. And that kind of leads me into a topic I wanted to get in with you, and that is the coaching staff. We talked about this, I think, the last time we did a show together, which was a couple of months. The coaching staff does some weird things. At times, they either don't run the football, or they get the football to, Quez Watkins a little bit too much, or vice versa on defense. They play too much shell coverage. I'm starting to really believe that if we were to go one and done in the postseason, or heaven forbid, lose on Sunday and then, lose in the wild card round, if the worst case scenario happens, which would be an early exit, I think heads might roll. Now, I think Sirianni, safe. I think Steichen leaves. But I could see a giant reorganization in terms of Gannon gone. A lot of the assistant coaches gone. If they go one and done, because I think, again, if you and I are noticing, why aren't they running the football? If you and I are noticing, why is Devontae Smith not getting enough targets? Why are we playing shell defense? Maybe Jeffrey Lurie's looking down and saying, hey, wait a second. This is the best roster I've ever had. We cannot go one and done.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's possible. I mean, it was really a horrible game plan versus the Saints. Like, that was really bad. And the fact that you have Minshew in there and you're letting him play like he's Jalen Hurts when he can't run was really bad. I think that was almost unforgivable. As far as Gannon goes, Gannon is Gannon. Like when he plays man and he gets aggressive, they're lights out. But then he goes into his show and he lets CeeDee Lamb play in the slot and line up against Josiah Scott instead of putting Slay on him. Like he does these things that drive you crazy. How does 1 week, Dak Prescott 16 to 18 in the first half. Then you got Andy Dalton's like 15 of 16 in the first half. Like that stuff drives me nuts, you know. But I feel like, and I said this earlier on another show today, that I think this coaching staff is young, and I think a lot of it has to do with they don't know how to win. Like they're learning how to win. If you look at a lot of the early games in the year, they were up big, and then all of a sudden we were giving up these leads, and teams were coming back. They didn't know how to finish them, and I feel like they didn't know how to finish and end, you know, this whole thing for the division. Like they didn't close it out right. They weren't ready. I don't think the team was prepared. I don't think they had the right game plan, and I wonder if this staff is learning how to win on the fly. I really do.
I think it's a great point. I mean, I have never thought of it that way, but hearing you say it, I think makes perfect sense, because how else do you explain what happened last week? And Joey has the exact tweet here. Miles not getting the ball in the first half of the game this year. What, 2 carries in the first half? His first one came with 6 to go in the second quarter. And Hurts bailed us out because he can run with Minshew. It was a disaster. That makes you wonder, you know, what are they thinking? And the only explanation is youth, you know, is inexperience and maybe a little bit of hard-headedness. I think with Gannon, it's being hard-headed. I think Gannon sits there and he knows that if his front four gets home consistently, then a bad quarterback is going to throw him a lot of interceptions. You saw that way early on in the year. They were getting the Carson Wentz game week 3, 9 sacks. He had a bunch of turnovers, and the Gannon defense was just shell the entire way, you know, no issues. But the problem is, I think he's convinced I can make Aaron Rodgers look really bad if we can get pressure on Ford and make him throw interceptions. And it's just not the case. I mean, he threw that one interception to Blankenship, but other than that, he was carving us up. I mean, for like the first half, it was like, okay, wait a second, we're getting obliterated. And you mentioned Dak. Dak was not even throwing an incomplete pass like the entire game. It was like you said, 14 or 16 or whatever it was. I think it's just hard-headed in the
first half.
It's not good.
Yeah,
it is scary.
I think I've said this because, you know, when I talk about Gannon, because I do not like Gannon's scheme. But every time I say it, the Gannon people come at me. Well, look at all the sacks. Look at all the statistics. They only held them to 13 points or whatever it is. And I always say to them, yeah, you're right. Imagine what he would do if he played more man, he was more aggressive. I think the stats would be, I think we'd have broken the sack record already. I think it would have happened. I don't like it, but it's just the way he is. Sometimes I think he gives too much respect to some of these quarterbacks, and it just shouldn't happen. Let me tell you, I remember Jim Johnson and Buddy Ryan, and there never would be a young quarterback, you know, like Pickett, right, with Pittsburgh. He came out in the first half, had a good game. Zach Wilson's rookie year had a big game. That would never happen with those guys with a young quarterback, ever.
I agree. I totally agree. Joey says, could Marcus Brady be the new OC? Is Marcus Brady helping Gannon? Do you think he has a big hand in the offense? By the way, stop the soft cone coverage. Gannon needs to play man-to-man. I have no idea what Marcus Brady is contributing to this whole situation. Excuse me, because he was originally, you know, he comes over from the Colts, and he is apparently helping Gannon. And I think we talked about this on our last show together, the idea of, an offensive mind. How would I play against Gannon's defense? Maybe they're going to change things up. And since then, they've changed up absolutely nothing. I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea what he's doing. You know what I did see, though? Yep. I saw this tweet. I don't remember who it was from, but it was from it wasn't just some random Twitter person. It was an actual NFL reporter. And he was saying that there is rumblings that the Dolphins could fire Mike McDaniel if they either, I think, are they locked into the playoffs, or they're obviously a wild card team, but they're on the outside looking in. They are the 8th seed right now. So if they don't make it, they could fire him because they want to make a run at Harbaugh, or they feel confident that they could get Harbaugh. There's a name right there that you would absolutely love to have as your offensive coordinator. Although, honestly, I don't see why any team, all these teams that are going to fire people wouldn't just go ahead and sign him. But I think there are going to be a couple of young offensive-minded head coaches who are coming from these really strong coaching trees that you would just gobble right up immediately to be your offensive coordinator, and then hope you get a more, wise sage who runs the defense as we want him to run, like a Vic Fangio, to replace Jonathan Gannon. So, but they're both gone.
I predict they're both going too. I think they're both going. I predict Steichen is in Arizona. That's where I think he's going to end up, in Arizona.
That spot. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Let's predict how many head coach openings there will be. There's always like 7, right? 6, 7.
Right.
Let's see here. Houston is 1. Okay.
I don't think they will.
The Bears won't. Arizona. How much money is on
Yes.
Cliff's contract? They got to get rid of a lot of money there. So we got 1.
think
We'll
he's
call it
gone.
2, 3. There was that report that they want to keep Saturday, which I think is ridiculous. There's no way they keep Saturday,
Well,
right?
No, he's gone. Yeah. I don't
1,
think they
2,
keep him.
3, 4. Technically, there's a chance of retirement here, but let's say no. Okay. Falcons are not going to fire theirs. They're not fired. They can't afford, apparently, to fire Josh McDaniels here. Carolina, Wilkes made a good run, but he still only won 6 games. Okay, there's another one.
No.
I think they keep Cleveland for continuity with Deshaun. The Saints, I think Dennis Allen is so overrated. The fact that he was even able to,
He's very overrated.
I would get rid of him. Saleh is going to be an absolute toss-up, but you can make the argument the team was good minus Zach Wilson. And I would get rid of Ron Rivera, but at the same time, if you take a decent quarterback, maybe Washington has a good roster. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure. That's factually 4. I'm going to go 5 here, and then probably one of these 3. So you're 6, right? About 6, I think.
I think Rivera's going to get fired. I got a feeling Washington. I just got a weird feeling Washington's going to fire him.
He feels so mediocre, but at the same time, I just don't blame him for the job that he's done. All he's done is come very close to the playoffs or get in as a wild card with all these crummy quarterbacks. I mean, the fall of Carson Wentz is one of the most shocking things, in the history of NFL quarterbacking. The dude is horrible. I mean, terrible.
I don't know what happened to him, man. I don't know. I mean, I know the injury and stuff. To me, it's something during the concussion versus Seattle in the playoff game. Because I thought that 2019 season, at the end of the year, he was playing like some of his best football. You remember they had no receivers with over 500 yards. He got them in the playoffs. He carried us into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then they got that concussion in the game, and to me, he's never been the same since.
Yeah. Here you go. Sydney Framing from Australia, 12:30 p.m. in Sydney. Oh, it's like lunch break. That's not bad. Jeez, can you imagine it being 12:30 tomorrow? It's crazy. The injection of Quinn and Gardner-Johnson may be the final surprise packet. Quinn still may come to the party. This is a really good point. And actually, I think you said this, that watch, we're all going to rip Robert Quinn because you spent a 4th-round draft pick on him, and then he's going to have the sack in a game, and that'll be like his only sack on the year. And then, boom, we're good to go. I think it was you that called it a long time ago on one of these joint shows. I think it was.
I might have said something. I felt like he was hurt when he came. Like, it was pretty obvious. They were talking that he was dealing with some knee injury at the time. So hopefully that he'll come back and he'll contribute. But I mean, we're getting sacks is not our problem. We've done a really good job with that.
That is very true. I'll also go ahead and just mention this about Josh Sweat because I saw a comment about Sweat earlier. I think Sweat is totally fine. And this is me reading into it as a non-doctor because you get stretchered off and it's like, okay. But reading that report, was it yesterday saying that he wanted to stand up, but the referee or the injury staff wouldn't let him do it. It felt very precautionary. I think he's totally fine. I think they hold him out of this week more for the visuals of it, the optics of it. But I think if Sunday was the Super Bowl or a playoff game, I think Sweat would 100% play. I think all the fear of him being like seriously hurt or even just remotely hurt, very much overblown. I think we dodged a big bullet.
Oh, we definitely did. When he left the hospital that night, I felt like, all right, I think he's going to be okay. Now, probably hold him out this week.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you have a bye week if the NFL doesn't screw everything up. But, we'll see.
I saw this one. Jose Jones says Seth Joyner, DC, and Frank Wright. Not spelled right, but I understand. OC. Yeah. Joyner does he does the pre and post game show on the Jacob Media Network.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've watched him a couple of times. He's very hard on Jonathan Gannon. He is not afraid.
He comes from the old school Buddy Ryan line of thinking. I love his style. I would love his scheme. I know that I would love him as a defensive coordinator. I don't know if the players could put up with him though. Like, he's pretty hard on them. No, I don't know if he could deal with it. With the way players are now, I don't know if he could deal with it.
I wonder if D'Amico Ryans, who we all forget was like one of the better
Yeah,
Eagle linebackers the past 20 years because they've all been so
great.
bad,
I
and he
think
was
he's
like
got a chance
90
to
years
coach.
old. I
Yeah,
well, I do too, but I wonder if he is going to be the person to open up the door for ex defensive players to become to become defensive coordinators, because there aren't a lot. Like
mhm,
you like look around the league, and the great defensive coordinators of our lifetime have just been these, you
right,
know, normal dudes who, were the sons of Buddy Ryan,
mhm,
or,
right,
where did Jim Johnson come from, right? I mean,
right,
I'm too young to know his whole coaching tree, but I think that D'Amico has done something really special with the 49er defense,
yeah,
showcasing that he could make it even better than what it
yeah,
was, because they've been good for the past couple of years. I could see him opening up the door for, I don't know if it is Seth Joyner. I think Joyner has made it very clear he likes what he's doing, and, not
yeah,
having to be a coach is being a coach is a tough job, right?
yeah,
But see a family, right? Your family doesn't
yeah,
exist. But I could
right.
see it opening up the door for some of these newly retired defensive guys to kind of get in there. And the thing you love about D'Amico Ryans is it's not Jonathan Gannon. It's not shell coverage. They do a bunch of weird stuff with the 49ers, and that's why they're the best
Right.
defense in the league right now.
Yeah, they're good. That's a good defense. I mean, there's been a few. I mean, I remember Mike Singletary came over. He was a former player that became a good defensive coordinator, then a head coach. Ken Norton Jr.
There
became
you
a
go.
good defensive coordinator. So there's been a few. It has happened. I think Seth Joyner, I think he would be interested in doing it, but I don't know. I don't know how interested, you know.
I think a
But I
big
would love it.
problem with a lot of the ex NFL players who actually who are, if they're name worthy, then they made a lot of money, right? Because some of these guys could come out and they're coaches, and you're like, who the heck is that? But the name
Mhm.
worthy guys have made their money, so it's not a money thing. And they sit back and go, I mean, do I want to work 80-hour weeks
Right.
and not get to enjoy my family, who I didn't get to see whenever I played? And the late nights and the long weekends, I think that that's a real problem for a lot of them. They have the itch. I mean, obviously Ray Lewis has the itch and would love to be a D coordinator, but he probably looks at it and goes, I'm worth how much money? I don't want to work 80
Right.
hours a week for, the next 10 years. No, thanks. And get
Yeah. Yeah,
criticized for it.
probably. Yeah,
Uh,
probably.
Joseph Delphia. That's a fun name there with the Jalen Hurts picture. Maddox makes the
Yeah.
defense look a lot faster. Yeah, they're going to have to get a corner, either a big name free agent nickel cornerback, or do something in terms of the draft to make sure that they have his spot filled up for next year, because we assume Bradbury and Slay are going to be the same two starting guys. But I just don't know if you can trust Maddox to be healthy enough anymore. And I
Yeah,
love him.
yeah, and it's a shame because he came out in that Cowboys game and he was making an impact too. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that Bradbury can come back. That's I really want James Bradbury back. But we'll figure all that out down the road.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What was I going to ask? Oh, I saw a comment here. Someone just said Brian Dawkins. I'm sure somebody has at least hinted to B Doc because they'd hire him in a second. He has no interest. I bet he has zero interest. Not a
Yeah,
chance.
I don't know. It's
Now
hard
that
to
now
know.
him coaching that defense could be pretty interesting, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Is Maddox coming back? I
They
think
hope
he's
they said they hope that he will, but
okay.
no guarantees.
I think he's probably the one out of all of them that might not be good to go for the divisional round. I think Lane is just going to play through it. Obviously, who else is that missing? CJ is obviously going to be back.
He'll
Sweat
be
will be
ready.
back. I think Maddox is the one that you would probably not going to happen.
Yeah, Maddox iffy, and Lane, you have to worry about the pain. Can he do it? Like you remember a few years ago, we had Deshaun Jackson. He had a groin injury. Instead of getting the surgery, in which he would have been back at the end
I
of the
remember
year,
that.
he tried to rehab for like 8 weeks, came back like one series, and then he went out and had the surgery. So hopefully, it's not a situation with Lane. But I really think the Lane thing depends on getting to the second round of the playoffs. I don't think he'll be ready next week if we had to play.
I want to pull up the playoffs right now really quickly and just take a look at potential matchups here. A lot of people are obviously assuming Dallas is going to go ahead and beat the Bucks, and you'd have the rematch of the century, part 3. I think this game is a lot more difficult than Cowboy fans actually realize. I think honest Cowboy fans understand that they never beat Brady, and Brady actually is kind
Yeah.
of peaking right now comparatively
Right.
to the rest of the season. So then you start looking at the lowest winning seed to go visit Philadelphia in a divisional round, and most likely it's going to be the Giants. To me, it would be the Giants. If you got to pick one of these to go on the road, because what's going to happen is the Packers are going to get in as the 7th seed, but then they got to go to the 49ers, and it's just not going to happen. And the 49ers, to me, are too good. And so then if you're assuming that the Bucs beat the Cowboys, your only other low seed upset is the Giants at the Vikings. And I think most of America would take the Giants or the Vikings because the Vikings are like the biggest fool's gold 12-win team we've seen in a long time. Does anyone trust the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins?
No, I think the Giants will beat them. If the Giants play Minnesota, I think they will beat them, and they'll be playing the Eagles most likely again, which is another reason why, if you're the Giants, you may not want to play your starters versus the Eagles. You know, you may totally not agree. Want to. So, yeah, I think the Giants can definitely beat them. The Buccaneers, to me, when I've watched them play, they have looked so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree, Brady's starting to get going, and that's a perfect type of choke Dallas game, you know, where Dallas would choke. So it would not surprise me at all.
And the idea of like, well, we gotta, we'll just get through Brady, and then they're thinking about the Eagle rematch. It could be like a Jacksonville Jaguar kind of weekend where Dak throws a couple of picks, and what do you know, they lose that football game, and then it's really fun. And then you would get the Brady going to San Francisco and the drama of all that, because where's he going to play? Philadelphia versus the Giants. It's still fun. Sign Cravon LeBlanc, and what's up with Trey Sermon? So Cravon was something I think all of us talked about last week because he tweeted about it, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. There's just no way they're going to pull him off the street, because the problem with signing Cravon is that there's this whole risk factor if you put him on the football field and he just gets obliterated because he hasn't played in so long. And then you're in a playoff game and it's like, oh, here comes Cravon LeBlanc, and he just gets completely abused. And so that's why they're not going to do it. Sermon obviously is not good enough to play, or else he would play. The Eagle coaching staff is not that dumb. I don't
understand it at all. I mean, I don't understand it. Last week you had Miles Sanders with 12 carries. Then you have Ball Scott with 2 and Kenneth Gainwell with 2. But the thing that bothers me the most is that on third downs, they put Gainwell in.
I know.
Gainwell's a third down, but I don't understand why you take Miles Sanders out on third down.
Well,
it makes no sense to me.
Well, especially the most infuriating thing is a 3rd down and 3, and they're running it out of the shotgun with Kenny Gainwell. That's what really gets me. It's
crazy.
God.
Like I want my biggest playmakers on the field on third down. It's like the Lions back in the day when in goal line situations they would take Barry Sanders out of the game. I never understood it.
Yeah, doesn't make sense. Day.
And every time I see Gainwell 3rd and 1, and it's Gainwell or third, I'm like, why is he in the game? You know, like, and then you look at every time we have like a 4th and 1, right, or 4th and inches, they quarterback sneak Jalen Hurts. That worries me that they sneak him that much.
Yeah.
Why not have Sermon or a bigger guy that can go in and get that first down? You know,
I don't think they've activated him since the Jaguar game. I don't think he's actually been active in any of these games, minus the one that I was at.
He had 2 runs, and I said, gee, he looks pretty good. He looked like J.J.
And I haven't
seen him since.
That was it. This is a crazy one. If we win the Super Bowl, would you trade Hurts for 2 firsts, then sign Lamar, have to pay big quarterback money regardless? Shouldn't we get more picks for the future? No, absolutely not.
No, if Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, I am not getting rid of a Super Bowl winning.
Can you imagine?
I'm not
oh, my goodness. We already made the mistake with Nick Foles, right? You got rid of him, and you saw what happened. I will say this. The Lamar Jackson situation should be an absolute studied case by everyone in the front office of the Philadelphia Eagles, because you're seeing what happens, right? He runs a lot, gets banged up. Now, Hurts is a way more, I said this on my show like 2 weeks ago, he's a way safer runner just by the way he runs. Like Lamar can take a lot of big hits, and Jalen, although he did get hurt this year, doesn't take a lot of big hits. But the whole Lamar contract situation is what you need to study, because here's a situation I saw today. Lamar is pretty much healthy, but refusing to practice with the Baltimore Ravens. He has a knee injury, but he doesn't want to play at 90% or 85% or whatever it is for risk of injuring himself again and then missing out on $250+ million. And I know that Lamar and Jalen are a little bit different in that I think Jalen would take $250 million, straight up and just, let's focus on winning. Not to say Lamar is not, but I just see him a little bit different. But the Ravens are in a tough spot, because are you then just going to cave to him for sitting out on what is a very important game? Not only this weekend, he's going to come back for the playoffs. He's been out for a month now. You want to talk about rust? It's fascinating to watch right now, and Philadelphia should make sure they do whatever the opposite is.
And it's why you don't wait till the last year of a contract. Like that's why
Yeah.
you have to extend Jalen Hurts this year. Now, how he can set it up in a way in which it doesn't really kick into the following year, but you can't go into that last year and risk it, because you have a guy like Lamar Jackson who doesn't want to go out there and risk playing at 90% because he doesn't want to risk everything. I totally get his point of view, and if they would have signed him to a contract, I don't think that would be an issue right now.
Yeah. Noah says, what do you think the Eagles will end up doing with the Saints' first-round pick? Also, where are we currently picking? I think it's 10. I can
10.
confirm that.
10.
And
Or
I
10
think
or 11.
I think it didn't move. Let's see. We did this last time. It's 10. Yeah. So it's 10, and it looks like based off of, and I don't know the tiebreaker scenarios here, but going off of wins and losses, you can't get it any higher than 7, right? Because even if they make it 6 and 11, well, I guess you could go, yeah. So that's right. So it can't go higher than 7. So you're basically locked in to anywhere from 7 to 13. And there is tiebreakers. I don't know the tiebreaker between
They got to
Cleveland
lose
or whatever. Right.
We need them to lose this week.
Exactly. But it's going to be right around here, which is still a fine pick. But this is very different from being 3. If it was 3, I think Howie 100% was trading that one back to get just a bevy of picks. If it's 7, 8, or 9, I think Howie stays put and takes the best player available that we need. A corner, a tackle or pass rusher, whatever it is.
I think you have to, especially with the amount of guys that you could possibly lose. I think you need to add that talent, a guy on a rookie deal, So, yeah, I agree.
Someone just said John Clark had him on a video today saying he wants to play for the Eagles. Him as in Lamar. Send me that video on Twitter. I never saw that.
I'm sorry, but I'd rather have Jalen Hurts.
I would too. I think Hurts is a better thrower of the football, at least from what we've seen this year.
I think so too. And I think Hurts, I feel like Hurts is a big pressure quarterback. Like, I think he'll come through in the clutch.
Joey just said, me and Philly got the sermon question every week. Seems Gainwell's been the prime back. Remember the dive fail? That was really bad. Oh, yeah. Jeez. Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh, my gosh. I don't hate Gainwell, but again, on 3rd down and 3, when I see number 14 in there, I want to just, rip all my hair out. And especially when they aren't going hurry up.
Another back. Yeah, I see him as another back. I don't think Gainwell could ever replace Miles Sanders.
I don't
think he'll ever be a number 1 running back in this league.
I just saw one that I wanted to see here. I wanted to bring up. Where is it? Hurts contract, $50+ million a year. It probably will be, as long as he doesn't. As long as he doesn't lay an absolute egg in the divisional round. Like, if he was just atrocious, then maybe not, but they probably still would.
Right.
But if he wins it and looks anywhere halfway decent, it's going to be very high. Very high. 47, 48. It's still very high.
I think it's 50. I think he's hitting 50. I definitely do. I don't think there's any way around it.
Skid marks. There's a good name. Fellas, do you agree with that when you blitz, you cover up a weakness by bringing pressure? And
if the pressure gets home.
Yes and no, right?
Pressure has to get home. Yeah. It can if the pressure gets home. My whole philosophy on the blitz is that the NFL, especially over these recent years, they want to give the advantage to the offense, and they have all these rules against the defense. And really, the only way to kind of nullify that is to get pressure on the quarterback. That's really, to me, the only thing you can do. So I'm a big believer in the blitz and getting pressure, but you also give up. You also could give up more big plays, because you open yourself up too at times. So it depends a lot on the quarterback situation. And I think, you have to get home. If you're not getting home on the blitz, you're going to get killed.
Well, and I think a lot of people worry about blitzing when they have bad corners. And that's why Gannon's scheme doesn't make sense. Like, Gannon's scheme feels like it's built around having bad corners, like making sure you give them lots of help and lots of safeties over the top. And we're just going to get pressure with 4. That way there's still 7 back, but you have 2 incredible corners. It feels like if there was a football team to lead the league in blitzes, or at least be top 10, it'd be Philadelphia, because you trust Slay. Even though he's been a little shaky the past couple of weeks, but you trust Slay. You love Bradbury. And, Epps isn't that great, but he's not horrific. He's not the worst. He's not getting torched every single snap. I just feel like they could do it a lot more with Gannon, but for whatever reason, they don't want to do it.
I think Gannon would rather die by 1,000 paper cuts. than get killed on one big play.
Which
I actually think it's bad because I actually think he puts more pressure on the offense to have to keep going out and
yeah,
scoring.
that's a good point.
So I don't know.
It's a very good point. Jose says, what would you like to see from the offense in playoffs to reach the Super Bowl? I think we're both going to say run the football, or at least be more balanced, just a little bit more balanced.
Your NFC home, if you get home field throughout the playoffs, you're playing in Philly, cold weather, you got to run the ball. You got to run the ball in January. So run the ball.
Yeah, whatever the game plan was against the Saints, where they threw the football like 9 billion straight times, just trash that one, run the football. And I know that Hurts wasn't in there, but I think a lot of Eagle fans will respect the play calling and if they were to, take a loss well, if they watch us run the football just like 30, 35 times in a loss in a playoff game and still get 200 yards, but hey, we lost, we'll be a lot more forgiving than if we lose in a playoff game and Jalen Hurts throws the football 45 times and Miles Sanders has 8 carries for 31. The big difference in how we take that loss, I think. Big difference.
I agree. And listen, if Miles is hurt, and that's a reason why he only got 12 snaps, then why did Gainwell only have 2 and Boston Scott only have 2? They didn't get more carries. Yeah. So they should have had more carries. They just didn't really think that they needed to run the ball against the Saints. It was a horrible game plan.
Would you take back Wentz as a backup? Oh, gosh. No. Too much drama. Way too much drama. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't either.
Actually, I think they need to find a quarterback that has similar skill set as Hurts, and keep him in, because obviously they don't want to change their offense if they have to put out Minshew. So you need somebody that has the same similar style.
It's what the Ravens did with Huntley. And at times, he's had a couple of games where it's like, oh, it's the same thing. And then he has games where it's like, this is not the same thing at all. But at least they can run the same offense.
Right.
I saw another one in here. I wanted to go ahead and get up. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, no, we don't want wins. People saying Epps can't cover. I think safety could be a very sneaky draft pick at number 10. Speaking of draft picks, I don't know what the safety rankings are. I have no idea. I haven't looked at the draft yet. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I like
if it's safety.
I like Blankenship, but I would consider it depending upon who's on the board.
Actually, I'm gonna.
I definitely love CJ. I love. Oh,
of course,
Gardner.
Of course,
I think he's a stud, but you still need another safety. I think Blankenship could be that guy, but I would consider it depending upon who's on the board at the time.
Sidney Brown of Illinois is number. Oh, this is from 10. Let's go from number 1 here. Brian Branch of Alabama, Antonio Johnson, Texas A&M, and J.L. Skinner of Boise State. It's just not draft time yet. I feel like draft time is when we aren't worried about the number 1 overall seed. Draft time is whenever
the board changes so much from right now until after the combine. So I have to go back and watch all these college games. That's what I do once the season ends. So I'll be doing a lot of that coming up.
Speaking of draft boards, how bad must Washington's Sam Howell be to not get a chance to play at all this year? Like, I forgot Washington drafted him until they announced he was going to start yesterday. I was like, oh, yeah, they drafted him. Yeah. He must be awful in practice. He's got to be awful. Yeah. There's no other explanation.
So he's starting versus Dallas. So Dallas
I think
is getting a break.
Yeah, they are. I saw someone argue that Dallas should rest their starters against Washington just because of the fact that Philadelphia is most likely going to win. Now, you can't do that because what if Philadelphia were to lose and then you lost because you rested your starters? But it was a pretty compelling argument because 99% of the country believes Philadelphia is going to win, even if the Giants weren't going to play their starters. And so Dallas has nothing to play for.
Well, yeah, and if I was a Cowboy fan, I'd be kind of pissed because I would say, why did you schedule the Eagles and Dallas game at the same time? Why not make the Dallas game after the Eagles game so you know whether they got to play or not? But
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm sure the league wants them to play their starters, so they've got to play their starters.
Let's see here. Oh gosh, I saw one I wanted to get here. As an Eagle fan, I hope we don't get sent to Tampa. Yeah, you and me both there, KHY. I don't know if you saw this, but I got my mom playoff tickets for Christmas. And so we're going to the divisional round in Philly
Very
as
true.
long as it's in the divisional round in Philly, right? Now, people were ripping me on Twitter saying, Thomas, that's not guaranteed. You just wasted all the money. Well, you get the money back. Like SeatGeek has you covered if it doesn't happen. But I'm going to be pretty darn pissed if I'm expecting to be there for the divisional round, and then it's like, hey, we're going to Tampa in the wild card run. I don't know if would I go? I don't know. I'd much rather be at the Link. But at the same time, what are you going to do? I don't want to go to Tampa.
No, I think they'll beat Tampa, but I wouldn't want to go either. Yeah, I mean, listen, if that's the case and we're the fifth, that means we've lost 3 in a row going into the playoffs. That is not where I want to be. I do not feel comfortable in that situation at all.
Well, and you'd be 3 in a row, and you would assume the 49ers would win against the Cardinals, making them the 1 seed. So your path to the Super Bowl would be at Tampa, at San Francisco, and then you'd still have to go to Minnesota, Dallas, whoever it is for the NFC Championship game. It'd be a nightmare. I don't think that they can do it, and I love this team, but there's
I think it's too tough. I think winning 3 games on the road. I mean, it's not impossible, but it doesn't happen all the time. So I think the path is win and get home field.
They're probably going to blow the brakes off of the Giants. I mean, honestly, they're probably just going to wreck the Giants. It's going to be super quick, and all of us are just going to go, "Oh yeah, we are really good."
I think so. I think by the third quarter, I think this thing will be over.
Which potential 7th seed is? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
Which potential 7th seed is the most dangerous? Honestly, this is like the sexy thing to say. I think Detroit. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and Jair Alexander's really good. I think the Packers are very pesky, but I think when you actually look at these football teams without the whole Aaron Rodgers bias, that Lions offense puts points up on literally everybody. And they did it to us, and it was a very long time ago, and so times have changed, and the line defense is very kind of suspect. I think Detroit is the ultimate, like, we have nothing to prove at all. We could get spanked as a 7th seed, and every fan in the city of Detroit would just, worship us as the greatest Detroit Lion team of all time. Whereas the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers always has pressure because it's the playoffs, and how many more times are you going to see him in there, and he always chokes. I think Detroit is the scariest one. Seattle's fun. Geno was fun, but not that fun. They're not that good. I think it's Detroit.
I think the Lions. I agree. I think I agree with you. The Lions, I would say, especially for the NFC. The AFC is a little is kind of interesting. The Jaguars are interesting to me in the AFC because if they win this week, don't they clinch the division?
Yes, officially. So then they are.
They would get a home game.
Right. Yeah, I think how it'll work, because right now the where's Tennessee? Okay, so wait, they are the 4th seed. So here is the Baltimore's the other 6th seed. This is all screwed up. I don't know why they say in the hunt and yet have them as the 4th seed. So it's going to be Baltimore and New England most likely as your 6 and 7, with the Dolphins having a chance as well. But the Dolphins have to have the Patriots lose to Buffalo and also win with their 3rd string quarterback, whoever that guy is. So it's going to be Baltimore and the Patriots. And to me, neither of these two teams in the wild card scare you. I think the AFC is so simple. It's whoever has to play 2 of these 3 teams is probably not going to make the Super Bowl. And it'll just end up being the other team versus the team that doesn't have to play the 2 of them. Like, this is all that matters. Love Herbert. Herbert's fun. I love the Jaguars and Dougie P. But none of these football teams have a chance against these 3 teams right here.
No, I don't think so. But I think the Jaguars, if they can win the division, get a home game, I do think they can get out of the first round.
Who would the Jaguars play?
They would be
the Chargers.
4th seed. So they would play.
Seed.
Yeah, they play. That
Tough
would
matchup.
be. I mean, for Doug Peterson, his first year to get that team into the second round playoffs, I think it's a big accomplishment.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. A couple more super chats I'll get to in 1 second, guys. I do want to showcase Detroit. Some of these numbers: 31, 31, 25 against Buffalo. They almost won that game. That was the Thanksgiving one. 40 against the 40 against the Jaguars. 34. 23, 41. That you talk about dangerous 7 seeds. Those Lions are pesky. Very pesky.
They're interesting team. Yeah. They would have to play the Niners though, right? Assuming
that's a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup.
That's going to be hard for them.
I want to get to the Niners in 1 second. Let me answer this one. I hope JG gets another job into the offseason. Dude, done out. Everyone on the screen right now agrees with that. That make it so easy, right? Oh no, we lost him. Darn it.
Yep.
But see ya.
I think he'll be a better head coach than he will a coordinator.
Possibly. Because then he's got other things to worry about besides playing shell coverage and getting shredded by Dak Prescott.
Right.
Yeah. Sydney family. There you go. Do you keep Bradbury or CJ? I think it's CJ.
I keep both.
But if you had to pick,
I'm keeping both. I have to go CJ if I have to pick because of the youth, because he's younger. I mean, Bradbury's going to be like the number one corner in free agency. I mean, he's going to be up there. I would extend Jalen Hurts and set it up where I have a lot of money and stuff to work with this year. I would sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to a long-term contract, and then I would franchise tag Bradbury.
That's well
done.
I
would franchise tag him for 1 year, and I draft a corner in the first or second round, let him learn behind Slay and Bradbury. That's what I would do.
That's like the dream. That's
I
would totally agree with that. This though, if you're asking truly this or that, it's like picking between children here. That's really tough. Who's your favorite kid? I don't know the answer.
I have to go with I have to go with the youth. I'd have to go with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because he's younger.
Yeah. We won't go for much longer because we're already at an hour here, but I do want to mention the 49ers. I have said this on my show. I want to get your take on this because I think it's fascinating. I cannot, for the life of me, trust Brock Purdy. I just can't see Brock Purdy winning 3 straight games, 2 of which will be on the road, right? And then go to a Super Bowl. I think the Brock Purdy magic has got to end at some time. It's like watching Jarrett Stidham ball out this past week as the Raiders, quarterback, and you're like, wow, maybe Jarrett Stidham's pretty good. He might be,
right?
But at the same time, maybe he's just like, hey, you know what? Screw it. I'm a gunslinger. I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to throw it up there. Devontae Adams is out there. It just feels like the Brock Purdy magic is going to run out. But at the same time, it might not because he might have the best team in the NFC minus us. I just can't buy into Brock Purdy for everyone who's so freaked out about the 49ers.
Yeah, to me, it's hard for me to believe that he's going to win, 3 games in the playoffs. That seems like a lot, especially if he has to go into Philly. But I don't like, what is the deal with Garoppolo? Because they were saying he could be back for the playoffs, right?
Oh, yeah. But they've all stopped saying that.
Just
because of how Brock's playing, right?
If he plays, I think they could do damage because that's a team that is good on both sides of the ball. And they've also been there. They've also gone on the road, beat Green Bay, gone on the road, beat Dallas. They have that playoff experience. So I think they're formidable. I think they're going to even be formidable with him because they run the ball so well. I think they're tough out. I do. I think the NFC Championship game is going to be the Eagles and Niners.
Yeah,
I really do.
This is funny. Brock Purdy sounds like a NASCAR driver. You watch NASCAR? Were you a NASCAR guy back in the day? No way.
Never could get. I just couldn't watch. Guy just keep making left turns, going around circles.
Believe it or not, NASCAR big in the Mott family house growing up. We all huge NASCAR fans. It's kind of died off with all the good drivers going away, but yeah, that just reminded me of that. Quickly here, I want to get to this I want to get to Martin's chat here in a second. Let's chart the Niners playoff path if everything goes properly. Let's assume it's Detroit. Okay. So they beat Detroit. Then they would host another playoff game. I said they do 3 on the road. It wouldn't be the case. 1 on the road would be Philly. Either way. Your second matchup would be the highest winning seed in the divisional round, which would most likely be, which is one of these 3 teams, right?
Yeah.
It's physically impossible.
Most likely be 3. The Vikings, Buccaneers, or the Cowboys.
Right. So let's assume, who would you pick out of that to come out of
this
cluster?
Actually, it depends. So, I think the Giants are going to beat the Vikings.
I know, that's tough.
I really do. I think I'll say, although I think the Buccaneers with Brady, you never know. I'll say Dallas goes ahead and beats the Buccaneers, and I'll say Minnesota. Let's say, for argument's sake, Minnesota wins. So let's say Minnesota wins. Dallas wins. Okay.
So then it's
so Dallas would go to us versus Dallas,
right?
And Minnesota versus 49ers. We would have a lot tougher game than the 49ers. I think the Niners would beat the crap out of Minnesota, to be honest with you.
I agree. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to chart that out. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you get Jalen Ramsey? No. How old is Jalen Ramsey now? Goodness gracious. He's got to be He's got to be old.
No, I'm not sending my first round picks for any veteran. I don't need that. What I need is I need young guys that could come in and play under a rookie contract. I got a lot of guys to possibly replace.
Yeah.
I think I would probably, if I had to guess, I wouldn't mind a situation where you take a pass rusher, like another defensive end in the first round. And then maybe with your second pick, take either a corner, possibly a right tackle, depending upon who's available. And then I'm not sure with Sayamalu. Is Sayamalu gone after this year? Is he a free agent? I don't know.
I don't know either.
We might have to get another guard too. So I would say, I would like a situation where we get like a pass rusher, another corner, safety, or a right tackle.
Yeah.
Something that's one of those positions.
I just said that Jalen Ramsey's very old. He's 28 years old, a year younger than James Bradbury. So, geez, It feels like he's been in the league forever.
Yeah,
forever.
It does.
I actually, Jalen Ramsey's story, I was at Baylor as a junior. So this would have been 2016 or 17 or something like that. And I was covering the Baylor Pro Day. And I'm standing on the sideline watching Corey Coleman, who was like our star receiver, who was drafted in the first round but stunk, watching him run routes. Yeah. And I look to my left, and literally one guy over is this really ripped, tall guy. And I look up, it's Jalen Ramsey. And I looked at him, I was like, Jalen, what are you doing here? And he goes, Corey Coleman's my boy. Like, I'm here to support him. And I was like, oh, okay. Because at that point, he was like the FSU corner. He wasn't drafted yet. But I was like, what are you doing? Baylor Pro Day right now, and he was there to support Corey Coleman. It turns out he turned out to be a superstar. Yeah, it was really bizarre. It was like,
that's cool.
Why are you here? But fun.
No, that's cool.
We'll do couple more chats, couple more minutes, like 5 max, and then we're gonna get out of here. You can enjoy the rest of our evening. Let's see. Great job, Thomas Philly. Enjoyed the live. Keep the good work. Much love from London. 2 a.m. here, even 8 a.m. call set up. Goodness gracious. I'll throw that one up anyway. That's a true fan right there. 2:10 a.m.
Shout out to you, Mark.
Mark, man, you got to go to sleep. You got to get on that call. Like, you got to make that bread tomorrow, Jeez. That's crazy. Really fun stuff. We are going to do, I'm telling you, I had pitched this as like everybody on and a giant round table. And then, family stuff kind of got in the way of having Mike and Brunson on. We're going to have like a full on all for maybe the week before the playoffs. We like schedule it out there. That way we all can be on here for a big group. Because I had mentioned that'd be a lot of fun. It'd be fun to get the gang back
hopefully together. we'll be chilling back the first week.
That'd be nice.
Playoffs. I would love nothing more than just enjoy playoff football and know the Eagles get the week off.
It feels like an eons ago, and yet it was literally like 6 years ago that we were, for this Super Bowl, having a week off and all chilling. But we all, I think, also thought we were going to lose that Falcon game. I don't know about you. I was like, we're probably losing this Falcon game.
No, I said I said the Eagles would make the Super Bowl and lose the Super Bowl.
Did you really?
Would lose. I thought, I said I think Nick Foles could take a Super Bowl, but I think we'll fall short because I knew it was going to probably be New England. But hey, he surprised me.
I was very wrong on that. I was 100% done. I was like, this is over. This is done. I remember my college roommate had a girlfriend who was like in PT school, and she was over watching the game with us when he blew out his knee. And she paused the TV and was trying to tell me, based on her very limited PT classes, that he didn't tear his ACL and that he's going to be fine. And I was not having it. And I just remember vividly being like, please stop talking. Like, please stop. Like, I know he just blew out his knee and you are not a PT. You are like in PT school. But she was, no, look, the angle. And I learned this in class. He's going to be fine. And that was not the case. And it was brutal.
No.
And I knew doom and gloom.
No. Yeah, well, we all knew it because it was like all season that year. We're like waiting for something like that to happen because that's normally what happens to us. The whole Carson Wentz MVP year, then he hurts his knee. That is all what I expect for the Eagles. What I did not expect is them to get hot in that Minnesota game the way they did, and then in the Super Bowl and win it. That was what was different.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Donnell Shipley in Kuwait, possibly one of our armed service members. So shout out to you. Or you're just living in Kuwait. That's fine too, but possibly.
Thank you for your service.
5:16 a.m. Gosh, you guys are really open early. Sheesh, embarrassing. LOL. Yeah, it was. It was rough when his girlfriend. They're now married. By the way, he married her, so they are.
You be careful what you say.
Got to be careful. Got to be very, very careful. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. I always appreciate it, man. I appreciate everyone who was joining us here on this show. We can replay this thing. You guys definitely should. And we got to do it again. We're going to get everybody on there. And, of course, I mean, I don't even have to say where to find you. Everyone knows Philly 500. So watch his show. It's very obvious. Come on. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Always fun. All right, stressless or stress-free weekend. They get the dub. Then we kick it back for 2 weeks. We watch Dallas lose to Tampa.
We're going to be sweating the first quarter. Yeah, I think by halftime, I think we'll feel pretty good. First quarter, we're going to be sweating it.
Love it. Love it. All right, man. I appreciate it. We will talk to you soon. I appreciate everybody else. See ya.
Peace.